The Grand Chamber of the ancient Cosmic Council existed in a dimension where time flowed like honey, slow, deliberate, and with a sweetness that came from eons of contemplation. Today, that tranquility shattered like crystal under sonic assault. Impossible. The word rippled through the chamber in 15,000 languages, simultaneously as Earthlings, their youngest member at merely 50 million years old, projected the data stream into their shared consciousness. The humans have achieved quantum entanglement drive capabilities. HFY, whose crystalline form had witnessed the birth and death of countless galaxies, shifted their consciousness toward the central observation sphere. The data was undeniable. Dr. Emily Walker and her team at the Montana Quantum Research Facility had not only achieved stable quantum entanglement at a macroscopic level, but had somehow managed to use it for propulsion. The readings showed their test vehicle, little more than a modified cargo container, had briefly existed in 3 locations simultaneously before reintegrating perfectly. A fluke, declared HFY, their tentacles of pure energy writhing in dismissal. These beings still fight wars over primitive resources. They poison their own atmosphere. They spend more time creating entertainment about space travel than actually traveling through space. HFY's form darkened, absorbing all light around them. A gesture that hadn't been seen in the chamber for millions of years. The other council members fell silent, their consciousness recoiling from the waves of concern emanating from their eldest member. You are all missing the critical data point. HFY's thoughts resonated deeply. Access historical records. Earth, chronological advancement, last century. The chamber filled with a cascading timeline of human achievements. What started as primitive-powered flight quickly accelerated. Nuclear fission, space travel, integrated circuits, quantum computing. And now this. Each advancement built upon the last with increasing speed. Notice the pattern. HFY continued. Where other species take millennia to make evolutionary leaps, humans force evolution through technology. They don't wait for natural selection. They create artificial selection. They don't accept limitations. They rewrite them. Earthlings, still confident in their dismissal, projected an image of human warfare. Look at their barbarism. They're clearly too unstable to. To what? HFY interrupted, their form pulsing with ancient knowledge. To join Galactic society. That's not what concerns me. What concerns me is that Dr. Walker's team achieved this breakthrough by accident. They were attempting to improve quantum computing by linking processors. The drive capability was an unexpected side effect they immediately recognized and adapted to their advantage. The chamber erupted in overlapping thoughts as council members processed this revelation. Humans hadn't spent centuries theorizing about quantum entanglement drives like other species. They hadn't carefully developed the technology through methodical research. They had literally stumbled upon it while trying to make their computers run faster. And instead of being frightened by the discovery, they immediately started figuring out how to use it. Access the facility's internal communications, HFY commanded. The chamber filled with Dr. Walker's voice. Holy shit, did you see that? The container was literally everywhere at once. Jake, get marketing on the line. I bet we can adapt this for shipping companies before the government classifies everything. The silence in the chamber grew heavier as the implications sank in. Humans weren't treating universe-bending physics as a mystical achievement. They were already thinking about commercial applications. This, HFY's thoughts echoed with the weight of billions of years of observation, is why we need to convene an emergency session. The humans aren't just advancing. They're accelerating. And they don't even realize how extraordinary that is. As the council members began their ancient rituals of emergency congregation, HFY accessed a private historical database, one sealed away from even their fellow council members. The patterns they were seeing, they had seen them once before. And if they were right, the universe was about to change in ways even they couldn't predict. HFY hadn't wanted this assignment. Studying primitive species was beneath a being of their stature, yet here they were converting their energy form into a quantum observer state to analyze human history, all because Zixith-3X had insisted on a thorough investigation. The first few hours were predictable. Primitive tool use, basic agriculture, crude metallurgy. But then Crithax noticed something odd. Where other species typically developed in linear patterns, humans seemed to advance in explosive bursts, each setback somehow catalyzing an even greater leap forward. Fascinating, Crithax muttered, their energy form flickering with interest as they accessed records from Earth's 20th century. They went from primitive-powered flight to landing on their moon in just 66 years. That's not just unprecedented. It should be impossible. Crithax expanded their analysis, creating a vast neural network of historical data. Patterns began emerging that made their energy form pulse with increasing concern. Humans didn't just solve problems. They transformed disadvantages into advantages with almost reckless creativity. A new alert caught their attention. Dr. Jack Anderson's Neural Interface Project in Seattle. Crithax accessed the live feed, expecting to find crude attempts at brain-computer interaction. Instead, they found themselves witnessing something that defied council-level understanding. "This can't be right," Crithax muttered, double-checking the data. Anderson's team wasn't just creating a neural interface. They were approaching it from an entirely new direction. Instead of trying to make computers understand brain signals, they were teaching the human brain to speak binary. The implications were staggering. Crithax accessed Anderson's latest research log. Made another breakthrough today. Turns out we were overthinking it. The brain's pretty good at adapting to new languages. Binary's just another one. Sarah figured out we could use the visual cortex's pattern recognition to see code. Now we're getting 98% accuracy on thought-to-text translation. Ordering pizza with my mind next week. The casual nature of the log entry made Crithax's energy form shudder. Humans weren't treating this revolutionary breakthrough with any particular reverence. They were celebrating with pizza. Diving deeper into historical records, Crithax began cataloging the pattern of human innovation. No natural armor. They developed metallurgy, then ceramics, then force fields. Poor night vision. They mastered the entire electromagnetic spectrum. Limited strength. They built machines, then improved them, then created AI to improve them further. But it was their response to failure that truly set humans apart. Crithax pulled up the records of early space exploration. The Apollo 1 tragedy, Challenger, Columbia. Each disaster was followed not by retreat, but by intense analysis, improvement, and a stubborn determination to return to space. Council Central, Crithax transmitted, their energy form now pulsing with urgent patterns. Preliminary analysis complete. Request immediate attention to concerning data point. Humans don't follow normal evolutionary patterns. They force evolution through sheer stubborn innovation. The response was immediate. Clarify concern level. Crithax hesitated, then accessed one final data stream. Dr. Anderson's team had just achieved another breakthrough. They weren't just teaching human brains to speak binary anymore. They were teaching them to speak quantum. Concern level critical, Crithax transmitted. Humans are not developing along predictable paths. They're creating new paths. Anderson's team is approaching council-level neural technology through methods we never conceived. And based on their current rate of innovation, they'll surpass our understanding within decades, not millennia. A pause, then. Recommendation. Crithax's form flickered as they formulated their response. Immediate council intervention. The humans aren't just advancing. They're reinventing the rules of advancement itself. Did you know they have a saying? Necessity is the mother of invention. I'm beginning to think we've drastically underestimated what humans consider necessary. As if to emphasize the point, a new alert flashed across Crithax's consciousness. Dr. Anderson's team had just filed a patent for their neural interface technology. The application included potential applications for enhancing interspecies communication, including potential extraterrestrial contact. They were already preparing for us, Krathax realized. And somehow, that was the most terrifying discovery of all. Ambassador Valthux had spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of first contact. Their form, a swirling constellation of light and wisdom, had brought countless species to their knees in religious awe. Their carefully crafted speeches had moved primitive civilizations to tears of enlightenment. This time would be no different. They materialized in NASA's main conference room at precisely 3:15 p.m. Eastern Time, their entrance accompanied by a symphony of cosmic harmonies and a display of colors beyond human visual perception. Dr. Madison Taylor didn't even look up from her laptop. "You're late. The meeting was scheduled for 3 o'clock. Valthux's form flickered in confusion. I come bearing the wisdom of the cosmos." "Great." Dr. Taylor finally looked up, pushing her glasses back up her nose. "Because I have some questions about your fold space technology. Our sensors picked up your arrival from about 12 light years out, and I've got to say, your energy efficiency ratings are terrible." The ambassador's carefully prepared speech about guiding humanity dissolved as Dr. Taylor pulled up a PowerPoint presentation titled Proposed Improvements to Alien FTL Tech, Draft 1. "Now, if you look at these calculations," she continued, clicking to the first slide, "you're bleeding out enough energy during transit to power New York for a year. We think we can help you reduce that by at least 60% with some basic modifications." What? Valthux managed, their constellation form stuttering like a faulty Christmas display. "We're here to guide your species." "Oh, that's nice," interrupted Dr. Alex Rodriguez, walking in with a coffee mug that read, "I want to believe," in better code. "While we're on the subject of guidance, your quantum shielding is using an outdated oscillation pattern. We detected some pretty nasty radiation leakage when you materialized. Here, I sketched out some improvements during lunch." He slid a napkin across the table. It was covered in equations that shouldn't have been possible for humans to conceive, let alone scribble down between bites of the sandwich. Valthux tried again. "We represent an ancient council that has watched over the galaxy for billions of years." "Billions?" Dr. Taylor perked up. "Perfect. Then you must have extensive data on cosmic background radiation variations. We've been working on a new theory about universe expansion, and we could really use some long-term observational data to confirm our math." The ambassador's form began to lose its coherence. This wasn't how first contact was supposed to go. Where was the awe, the reverence, the grateful acceptance of superior guidance? "Listen, they tried one last time. We have come to help shepherd your species into a new age of." Speaking of shepherding, Dr. Rodriguez cut in, now typing furiously on his tablet. "Your dimensional phase variance is all over the place. No wonder your energy consumption is so high. Madison, look at these readings. They're still using linear quantum alignment. It's like watching someone try to surf the internet with a dial-up modem." "Oh my God, you're right," Dr. Taylor laughed. "Hey Valthux, would you mind staying for a few extra hours? Our engineering team would love to run some diagnostics on your manifestation matrix. We think we can boost your coherence efficiency by at least 80% with some basic quantum realignment." Valthux, the mighty ambassador of the ancient cosmic council, found themselves being handed a visitor badge and a schedule of proposed meetings with various department heads. Someone had even penciled them in for next week's technology sharing symposium. I need to consult with the council," they managed, their form now barely maintaining its impressive cosmic display. "No problem," Dr. Taylor called as the ambassador began their retreat. "We'll email you the PowerPoint. You do have email, right? If not, we can set you up with a temporary NASA account. Oh, and think about the radiation shielding. That really should be addressed before your next visit. Safety first." As Valthux fled back to the council's dimension, they could hear Dr. Rodriguez's voice fading behind them. Should we tell them about the quantum tunneling coffee maker we built last week? Might help with their energy consumption issues. The mighty ambassador had never filed a mission failure report before. They suspected this would be their first, and that the council wouldn't believe half of it. Counselor Engsvith had always prided themselves on their strategic brilliance. Operation Slowdown was their masterpiece, a series of carefully orchestrated natural events designed to impede human progress without revealing the council's existence. As they initiated the first phase, they allowed themselves a moment of smugness. Surely this would work. The solar flares began precisely on schedule, targeting Earth's communication satellites and power grids. Engsvith settled in to watch humanity struggle with their suddenly unreliable technology. 3 days later, Dr. Rebecca Hayes held a press conference outside her Colorado lab. Thanks to the recent solar activity, we've made an extraordinary breakthrough in plasma containment, she announced, beaming at the cameras. What we initially thought was interference with our equipment turned out to be a natural demonstration of magnetic field manipulation. We've already adapted the principle into our fusion reactor design, improving efficiency by 400%. Engsvith's smug satisfaction flickered like a dying star. Undeterred, they launched Phase 2, subtle quantum field disruptions designed to make advanced computing unreliable. Surely this would slow their technological progress. 1 week later, Major Tom Patterson's quantum computing team at DARPA published a paper titled Quantum Field Irregularities, a new approach to stable qubit communication. They had not only detected the disruptions, but had somehow used them to create a more robust quantum computing architecture. It's fascinating, Major Patterson explained to Popular Science. These field fluctuations showed us a completely new way to handle quantum entanglement. We're already seeing applications in everything from communications to energy transmission. Sometimes the best breakthroughs come from things going wrong. Engsvith's form began to emit distress patterns visible from several dimensions away. In desperation, they initiated Phase 3, targeted resource scarcity. Heat rare earth elements became mysteriously difficult to extract. Critical materials started behaving unexpectedly in manufacturing processes. The humans called it a challenge and held a hackathon. Welcome to the first International Resource Innovation Summit. Dr. Marcus Wong's voice was enthusiastic as he addressed participants worldwide. With recent supply chain issues affecting traditional materials, we're here to think outside the box. Remember, constraints breed creativity. 2 days later, a team of graduate students announced they'd developed a room-temperature superconductor using common household materials. Another group had created quantum computation circuits using modified organic compounds. A third had accidentally invented a new form of matter while trying to make their coffee maker more efficient. The results exceeded our wildest expectations, Dr. Wong later told the scientific community. It turns out all we needed was a good reason to question our basic assumptions about material science. Sometimes limitations are just opportunities in disguise. Engsvith watched in horror as their data streams showed human advancement accelerating by 300%. Each obstacle they introduced was being transformed into a stepping stone. Their carefully planned Operation Slowdown had become Operation Inadvertent Boost. The final straw came when they detected a peculiar transmission from Dr. Hayes' lab. Hey, has anyone else noticed these weird patterns in the quantum fluctuations? They're way too regular to be natural. I think someone's trying to mess with us. Anyway, I've used them to improve our fusion containment again, running at 800% efficiency now. Should we send them a thank you note? In the Council's dimension, Engsvith's form had collapsed into a puddle of pure embarrassment. Their report to the Council was the shortest in cosmic history. They're not just surviving our interventions. They're recycling them into advantages. Request immediate termination of Operation Slowdown before they advance enough to track it back to us. Too late. Dr. Hayes' next paper was already being uploaded. Evidence of artificial quantum field manipulation. Implications for cross-dimensional communication. The abstract began. To whoever's been tweaking our quantum fields, thanks for the inspiration. We'd love to chat about your methods. Annex Fifth, once proud architect of cosmic intervention, now spent their time avoiding Zexa-3X's knowing looks in council meetings. Sometimes they swore they could hear the ancient being's thoughts. I told you so. The council chamber had never seen Zexa-3X access the forbidden archives before. The ancient being's crystalline form pulsed with unusual urgency as they interfaced with databases sealed for millions of years. Before I show you this, Zexa-3X's thoughts resonated deeply. Understand that breaking this seal is itself a violation of our highest laws. But Dr. Michael Reynolds' latest quantum communication breakthrough has forced my hand. The chamber filled with ancient recordings, showing beings of pure energy manipulating reality itself. The predecessors, a species spoken of only in whispers among the council's eldest members. 3 billion years ago, Zexa-3X continued, they emerged from a water world much like Earth. Like humans, they were considered primitive, replaceable, unremarkable. Until they weren't. The recordings showed familiar patterns. Each challenge to the predecessors sparked not defeat, but innovation. Their responses to adversity grew exponentially more impressive until they transcended physical form. Krithax whispered, their energy patterns fluctuating with shock. But what does this have to do with? Watch, Zexa-3X commanded, overlaying the predecessor's development timeline with humanity's. The patterns aligned with terrifying precision. The predecessors took 50,000 years to achieve quantum communication. Zexa-3X explained. Dr. Reynolds' team did it in 50 years. And they did it while ordering takeout. The latest footage showed Reynolds' lab in Austin, Texas. The breakthrough moment was surprisingly anticlimactic. Hey, the quantum connection's stable. Reynolds called out, not looking up from his screen. Someone grabbed my phone. I promised my kid I'd be home for game night. But the math said this was impossible. His colleague replied, passing him his phone while staring at the readings. Yeah, well, math says bumblebees can't fly either. Sometimes you gotta ignore what's impossible and just make it work anyway. The council chamber erupted in overlapping thoughts of concern, but Zexa-3X wasn't finished. They pulled up Dr. Reynolds' latest project notes. Quantum entanglement seems to care more about intent than precision. We stopped trying to force particles to connect and instead created conditions where they'd want to connect. Kind of like a quantum dating app. Next step. See if we can make it work across dimensions. These energy readings we're detecting suggest someone's already doing it. They're going to find us. Earthlings realized, their young form trembling. But that's not the worst part, is it? No, Zexa-3X confirmed. The worst part is they're following the predecessor's path, but they're doing it wrong. Or perhaps, more right than we thought possible. New data streams showed human advancement patterns fracturing expected reality curves. Where the predecessors had followed a steep but predictable ascension, humanity's progress looked more like a jazz improvisation. Chaotic, creative, but somehow still harmonious. The predecessors sought perfection, Zexa-3X explained. Humans seek improvement. The difference is subtle but crucial. Perfection has an endpoint. Improvement. Their form darkened. Improvement is infinite. A new alert flashed across the chamber. Dr. Reynolds' team had just successfully transmitted quantum information through a dimensional barrier they shouldn't have even been able to detect. Their official report was topped with a sticky note. Found this weird space-time pocket dimension. Anyone know if we have first contact protocols for this kind of thing? Also, ordering pizza for late night. Let me know your toppings. We are watching a species speedrun evolution, Zexa-3X concluded. The predecessors ascended because they mastered the universe's laws. Humans. Their form flickered with what might have been amusement. Humans are ascending because they've decided universal laws are more like universal guidelines. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. They weren't just watching history repeat itself. They were watching it be reinvented, remixed, and improved upon by a species that treated cosmic mysteries like puzzle games. Should we be concerned? Krithax finally asked. About humans finding us. They already have. Zexithriax's form brightened slightly. The real question is, what will they suggest we improve first? The council chamber had devolved into chaos, if you could call a multidimensional argument between cosmic beings chaos. 3 distinct factions had formed, their energy patterns clashing in ways that created temporary rifts in space-time. We must contain them. The containment faction, led by Angsvith, pulsed with panic. They're advancing too quickly, too recklessly. Did you see what Dr. Amanda Collins did yesterday? The chamber filled with footage from the MIT Quantum Research Lab. Dr. Collins, a quantum physicist with a coffee addiction and a habit of humming while she worked, was casually adjusting what appeared to be a modified Xbox controller connected to a mess of equipment. So, she explained to her webcam, recording her weekly video log, we noticed these weird quantum fluctuations that shouldn't exist in our dimension. Traditional sensors couldn't map them, but it turns out the motion sensors from gaming controllers are perfect for detecting cross-dimensional movement. Who knew? She's using entertainment technology to probe dimensional barriers. Angsvith's form flickered with distress. This isn't how advanced physics is supposed to work. Exactly why we should study them, countered Krithax, now leading the Observer faction. Their approach to science is unprecedented. They don't just think outside the box, they question why the box exists, then build a better box using parts from their kitchen. The footage continued. Dr. Collins had moved on to explaining how they'd repurposed a coffee maker's heating element to stabilize quantum fields. The temperature control was already precise enough, she shrugged. We just had to modify it to handle dimensional variables instead of water temperature. This is exactly what concerns us. The third faction, the Mentors, interjected. Their spokesman, Valathux, was still traumatized from the first contact attempt. They need guidance before they accidentally unravel the fabric of reality, trying to make their morning coffee more efficient. A new alert suddenly dominated the chamber. Dr. Collins' team had achieved something impossible. They'd mapped the council's pocket dimension, using repurposed gaming equipment and kitchen appliances. Hey, her voice came through clearer now. You know that dimensional pocket we detected. Turns out it's artificial and inhabited, and whoever's in there really needs to update their quantum shielding. We're picking up their debates about us using a modified microwave sensor. The council chamber fell silent, then erupted again. They can hear us. How long have they been listening? Is that coffee maker really more efficient than our quantum field generators? Before anyone could respond, a new message appeared in every council member's consciousness simultaneously. The source, Earth's newly established Department of Dimensional Affairs, headed by Dr. Collins. Dear dimensional neighbors, we noticed you've been watching us. That's cool. We love meeting new people. We're hosting the first annual Multiverse Science and Technology Expo next month and would love to have you attend. We've already got 7 other civilizations confirmed, thanks to our new quantum social network. P.S. We've developed some upgrades for your dimensional shielding. Your current setup is leaking enough energy to power a small country. We can help with that. P.P.S. Is it true you've been around for billions of years? Our historians are super excited to chat. Best regards. Humanity. Attached was a preliminary schedule of events, including panels such as cross-dimensional coffee brewing, a new approach to quantum field manipulation, and gaming controllers, the untapped potential for universal exploration. Well, Zexithriax's ancient form resonated with what might have been amusement. It seems the debate about whether to contact them is now moot. They're selling tickets to our dimension on their equivalent of StubHub. The chamber erupted one final time as council members realized humanity wasn't waiting for their decision. They were already planning the afterparty. Should we respond? Valathux asked weakly. I believe. Zexithriax replied. The human phrase is, the ball is in our court. Though given humanity's track record, if we don't respond soon, They'll probably invent a better ball and a better court. Dr. James Wright never imagined his first major event planning experience would be the Multiverse Science and Technology Expo. Yet here he was, standing in the repurposed NASA hangar, watching beings from 8 different civilizations mingle over quantum-cooled coffee and dimensionally stabilized donuts. No, see, that's what makes it interesting. He overheard Dr. Collins explaining to a crystalline being from Proxima Centauri, "We didn't develop quantum computing by trying to perfect it. We just kept breaking it in new and interesting ways until we understood how it really worked." Across the room, a group of energy beings from the Andromeda Galaxy were clustered around Major Patterson's gaming setup. "So you're saying," one flickered in amazement, "you discovered trans-dimensional physics while trying to reduce lag in online gaming?" "Lag is the mother of invention," Patterson grinned, demonstrating how their modified console could now detect quantum fluctuations across 12 dimensions. Turns out the math for reducing network latency works pretty well for synchronizing different universal constants. The ancient Cosmic Council members had arrived last, their dramatic entrance somewhat undermined by Dr. Reynolds' team immediately offering to upgrade their manifestation matrices to something from this century. "Your civilization is barely space-capable," Anxvith protested as a junior researcher casually adjusted their quantum frequency. "How can you possibly?" "Oh, we're not space-capable in the traditional sense," Dr. Reynolds interrupted, not looking up from his tablet. "We just figured out how to make space more compatible with us. Speaking of which, have you considered upgrading your dimensional pocket? The energy efficiency is terrible. We could help you switch to renewable quantum fluctuations." Zexithriax, watching from what they thought was a discreet corner, found themselves approached by a grad student with a nametag reading, "Hi, I'm Beth. Your civilization's historical records are fascinating," she bubbled, somehow producing a holographic spreadsheet from what appeared to be a modified smartphone. "But we noticed some inconsistencies in your archival methods. We've developed an AI that can help optimize your data storage across multiple dimensional states simultaneously. Want to see?" Before the ancient being could respond, they were being shown how billions of years of cosmic wisdom could be more efficiently organized using what the humans called cloud computing. The expo's main presentation hall was packed for Dr. Martinez's keynote. Universal constants, more like universal variables, am I right? The physicist had somehow managed to make multidimensional physics accessible through memes and cat videos. "The thing about universal laws," she explained to a mixture of human and alien scientists, "is that they're more like strong suggestions. Once we stopped treating them as immutable and started treating them as parameters to be optimized, everything got much more interesting." In the networking area, representatives from 7 different species were excitedly discussing the formation of what they were calling the Young Species Alliance. Their first project, a joint initiative to optimize faster-than-light travel using principles borrowed from Earth's public transportation systems. "If we apply the same algorithms used to coordinate subway schedules," a young physicist was explaining, "but extend them across quantum states, we can reduce cosmic energy consumption by roughly 90%. A council member nearby flickered in disbelief. "But you haven't even mastered regular faster-than-light travel yet." "Exactly," several humans responded in unison. "We're starting fresh, without any preconceptions about what's supposed to be impossible." As the expo entered its final hours, Dr. Wright found himself sharing a quantum-stabilized coffee with Zexithriax. The ancient being had been unusually quiet. "You know," Wright mused, "we were all a bit nervous about hosting this. First time organizing a multiversal conference and all. But then we realized something. Nobody's ever done this before, which means nobody could tell us we were doing it wrong." Zexithriax's form rippled with what might have been laughter. "You've turned the entire universe into a startup project." "Well," Wright grinned, sipping his coffee that somehow existed in 3 quantum states simultaneously. "If the universe wanted to stay the same, it shouldn't have made change possible." The ancient Cosmic Council chamber had been renovated, Gone were the imposing dimensional barriers and cosmic grandeur, replaced by what Dr. Lisa Martinez had called a more user-friendly interface. The humans had even installed a coffee machine that operated across multiple quantum states simultaneously. "It's more efficient this way," she'd explained while setting it up. "Now you can have your cosmic deliberations with perfectly brewed coffee from every possible timeline." Today's session was historic. The first joint meeting between the Council and the newly formed Young Species Alliance. The agenda: humanity's proposal to revolutionize how the universe handled innovation. "Look," Dr. Martinez began, her presentation floating in 11 dimensions simultaneously, an upgrade she'd made to PowerPoint over lunch. "We get it. You've been maintaining cosmic order for billions of years. But maybe, just maybe, order isn't about preventing change. It's about managing it intelligently." She pulled up a graph showing the exponential growth in cross-species collaboration since the Expo. "In 3 months, we've seen more technological advancement through species cooperation than in the previous million years of isolated development." HFY, still struggling with their recently upgraded manifestation matrix, flickered in protest. "But the risks are exactly why we need to work together," interrupted Dr. Rodriguez, now heading the Multiversal Engineering Division. "Remember when you tried to slow us down with those quantum field disruptions? We turned them into a more efficient communication system. Imagine what we could do if we actually collaborated." The chamber filled with data streams showing the results of recent joint projects. The Proximans had combined their crystalline computing with human neural interface design, creating a new form of consciousness transfer. The Andromedans had adapted Earth's internet protocols for quantum entanglement, establishing the first multiversal social network. "We call it Spacebook," Rodriguez grinned. "The lag time is negative." Zexthriax, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, finally spoke. "You realize you're not just changing how species interact, you're changing the fundamental nature of cosmic civilization." "Yeah," Dr. Martinez beamed. "Isn't it great? Oh, and speaking of changes," she pulled up another slide. "We've been looking at your cosmic background radiation data. Turns out the universe isn't just expanding, it's iterating. Like a cosmic-scale agile development process." The council chamber erupted in overlapping thoughts of shock, but before they could respond, a notification chimed across all dimensional frequencies. The Young Species Alliance had just successfully tested their first joint project, a public transportation system that worked through both space and time. "We based it on the London Underground map," Dr. Wright explained proudly. "Turns out managing multidimensional transit is a lot like managing subway delays, just with more quantum mechanics and slightly better customer service." As the council absorbed this latest development, Zexthriax made a decision. Their form shifted, adopting what humans called Casual Friday manifestation. The predecessors, they announced, ascended because they mastered the universe's systems. Humanity. They paused, their form rippling with what was definitely amusement now. Humanity just submitted a pull request to update those systems. The chamber filled with laughter, a sound it had never heard in billions of years of existence. Even NX5 joined in, their form finally synchronizing properly with their upgraded matrix. "So," Dr. Martinez said, reaching for her quantum coffee, "about that warning you guys give to emerging civilizations. Maybe it's time for an update." Zexthriax's form brightened. "Indeed. From this day forward, our message to new species shall be, beware of humans, not because they're dangerous, but because they'll convince you nothing is impossible. And then prove it." "Also," added Dr. Wright, checking his quantum state phone, "the next Multiversal Tech Expo is scheduled for next month. We're thinking of calling it Universal Constants, more like beta testing." As the chamber filled with excited chatter about upcoming projects, Zexthriax reflected that perhaps this wasn't the end of their role as cosmic guardians, just an upgrade to a new version. One with better coffee, more efficient systems, and the constant, exciting possibility that tomorrow, Someone would figure out how to improve the impossible again. After all, that was the thing about humans. They didn't just reach for the stars. They'd redesign the ladder on the way up.